Hey guys, welcome back to Cyberpunk Holiday here, my channel, and this might be my last magazine review. We'll see. I kind of took like a poll to see what people liked least about the channel, and so far, retro magazine reviews are not everyone's favorite, and I can completely understand that. I asked for a reason. But most of these episodes, when I do these things like this, or I do a comic book thing, or where it's got my shitty camera here doing this, it's mostly just filler for the channel. It's actually just stuff I post to kind of keep the algorithm going on my channel. Whereas, if I had the time, which I will eventually after I finish my comic book, to do full episodes every single week, I would do it, but I don't. So I have to take small little bits of the week and work on them after work to make a big video. And so anyways, a big video is coming. Again, these are just filler, but this might be my last one of magazines for a while. So anyways, here we are. PlayStation Magazine, September 2003, Volume 7, the Manhunt video game that we all know now scored a sequel, which I had it in my room here a second ago, but it had a sequel, Manhunt 2, and basically we're going to take a deep dive look into what was going on around 2003 and kind of what people's mindsets were and so on and so forth. In this issue, Resident Evil Outbreak, Need for Speed Underground, and you can't see it because of this damn thing right here for someone's address or something that was printed here, Prince of Persia. Downhill Domination, everyone's favorite downhill biking game. I still remember this coming out and not giving a shit. And guess what? I still don't. Freedom Fighters, never played it. So the editorial here is basically they're dreaming about a portable PlayStation and what is the PSP going to be like when it comes out. Of course, we all know that the PSP, man, I mean, what a powerful system. It came out, it kicked ass, it rocked my socks. I emulated a lot on it. So did everyone else. Oh, man. Hunter, the Reckoning. Okay, so here's kind of what they think. They're gleaming into the future of what possibly could be the PSP and predicting what it could be. So it obviously wasn't this. The fold case that we always think that like portables are end up going to be. I mean, not even the Switch became a fold case, right? But this is interesting. This could have been it. I mean, why it would still need the second dual stick, right? Which kind of happened here. Someone modded a small TV into a portable battery operated or charged portable PlayStation. Clearly it's Symphony of the Night on there, but the disc is sticking out of the back here. So this was made by Benjamin Heckendorn. Say that 3 times fast. Another thing they said, maybe it's possibly like a PDA, which if anyone's not old enough to remember, a PDA was basically just the most archaic device. It had a screen and a stylus, and you could just basically put notes in it. Something you can do easily with your phone now. A complete waste of money. People spent hundreds of dollars on them. They think it's possible that it could be something like this. Now, back to the basics. It could be like a Neo Geo Pocket, and that's what this is supposed to look like. And they actually show a Neo Geo Pocket here, which is more of what the PSP did turn into, along with the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP. So it was actually more like these two in the end. But when this came out, the biggest problem with it was the screen scratched easy, and it wasn't backlit, so you had to hold it up to the light. I think it eventually had one that was backlit, maybe? I don't know, but I know the Game Boy Advance SP, which was the same thing, had the backlit screen. And this is the one that most people I saw had. I had this one for a while because it played Game Boy games on it, and I played Samus Returns. Never had a Neo Geo Pocket. There weren't games on it. They solidified my reason to buy one. Capcom comics. Ironically enough, I think I have one right here in this pile of comics, but basically what they're saying here is that Capcom games are going to eventually turn into comic books for people to read. I have the newest issue of Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, The Beginning, by Tokyo Pop. It's really bad. I want to review it, but even in the inside here, which I'm not even going to open it, let's see what it says. No portion of this book may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means without written permission of the copyright holders. So it would probably just get taken down, which is why I'm not even going to bother. And this is how cheap they were. They even had the Overstreet ad on the back. Anyway, these eventually did become a thing. Devil May Cry got a manga, I think. It also got an animated show. Mega Man, his comics are still coming out alongside Sonic comics. I forget the publisher who does those. I didn't read these ones. Maximo or Darkstalkers. Prince vs. Prince of Persia. This is not good. It's not even funny. Don't look at it. New RE Outbreak details. So they put it on the cover, which is funny. How it could entice you to buy a magazine thinking, oh, I'm going to get, an article about Resident Evil Outbreak. You literally get this in a paragraph later in the magazine. But it basically outlines that each survivor is specifically confirmed to have different and crucial roles in surviving the zombie-infested streets. They're not just there for visual variety. It says, like Kevin starts with a gun, George is the surgeon so he can mix herbs. My favorite, Cindy, she can carry more herbs. She's the waitress, cocktail waitress in the bar in Raccoon. Rumors, a GoldenEye sequel on PS2. So people who weren't born in the 90s or in the 80s or before don't know how big GoldenEye was. I mean, maybe they do now. It probably looks archaic because you can find it on your Switch. Like play it on your Nintendo Switch. But it was the biggest thing, multiplayer-wise. I mean, first-person shooter-wise. It was right after Doom, coming off the heels of Doom. So a sequel on the PlayStation 2, this would definitely be ripe with hype for people. As we both, all of us know now, if we were paying attention, I think it was Nightfire that came out. And Nightfire, while a good game, wasn't a GoldenEye. Most hyped games, basically. Metal Gear 3 is number one. Why shouldn't it be? That was the game that everyone wanted. After Metal Gear 2, there was no way that this wasn't the game that every Metal Gear fan wanted. And a lot of video game fans, that weren't Super Metal Gear fans. But these, nothing good here, really, except for Legacy of Kain Defiance. That was fun. An ad for Silent Hill 3, which they do give a guide for in the magazine. This is a pretty rad ad. I still remember seeing this and being hyped. fuck sports games? Who cares? Should just rip it out. Here it is. So they did a review on it. They gave it a 7 out of 10. They said it's good. Some of the flaws they cited in it were it only took 4 hours their first time through playing it. The second time it took only 2.5 hours. So it's a short ass game. Clocking in at just over 4 hours on my first time through, I was surprised. 4 hours the first time through. The second time only took 2.5 hours. This doesn't leave time for much of a storyline, you'd think. And though I found myself still wanting more, it's partly true. Characters aren't given time to develop as fully as you'd expect from a Silent Hill game, and though most questions are answered, you certainly don't feel satisfied for a series that's really knocked storytelling in video games up a notch. Silent Hill 3's brief jaunt through Silent Hill falls a bit short. For those who were enthralled with James' psychological journey in SH2, don't expect the same level of complexity in Silent Hill 3. It's still a good story, and there's definitely some emotion to be had in the game, but I felt it was still a bit hollow in the end, and this affects most of the scares and frights. Much of the gameplay feels like a retread of earlier Silent Hills. Scares are few and far between. There's only a handful of monster types, which is true. And yet, even with these glaring flaws and rehashed mechanics, the third trip to Silent Hill is still definitely worth a trip for fans of the series and the genre. Just don't expect to stay that long. So these are all valid points. And even some of the enemies in Silent Hill 3 are pretty fucking weak, in my opinion. The game is short. You are just retreading ground, technically. And I still think the emotions are there, though. So the complexity of emotions part, I disagree with. I think that the emotions are still in the game. Excuse me. Also, just to factor in their rating here, they gave Silent Hill 1 a 9, Silent Hill 2 a 7. So they gave it the same rating as this one. And Silent Hill 3 a 7, Clock Tower 3 a 7, Resident Evil Dead Aim a 5, valid. But Silent Hill 2 a 7. So, you know, can you take their word for it? I don't know. Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, a big letdown for the series. I didn't get to play it, but people really, I mean, Tomb Raider's on its last leg at this point, and we still had the busty Lara Croft era as well, 5 out of 10. Virtua Fighter 4, 10. Never got to play this, Alien vs. Predator Extinction. My friend had it, but he said he's like, it's my brother's, man. We can't play his games, and it's like, whatever. 7 out of 10. I should go back and play that. Indiana Jones and Emperor's Tomb. I got this on my Steam wish list. You can buy it on Steam. 8 out of 10. I'm surprised this is an 8 out of 10. Hunters of the Reckoning Wayward. So this is the sequel to the original Hunter of the Reckoning, which, in my opinion, is like a coin-op, beat-em-up, just bland. I mean, people get so bored with it today. Like, smartphone games could beat it in terms of entertainment value, in my opinion. And the sequel, while adding things, wasn't as good as the first one. WCW is dead. World Championship Wrestling has been bought by WWF. That's now WWE. So when you turn the page and you see Goldberg here, and you see him in the Raw, Monday Night Raw here, you're like, what? No. What happened? Goldberg's now in WWF? Or WWE, as it says, SmackDown on PS2. It's got the elimination chamber, your season mode. It's actually got real female wrestling fighters here. Cites some old school wrestlers: Hogan, Undertaker, The Sheik, Sergeant Slaughter, Ultimate Warrior, $1 Million Man. The guys you'd expect. And then here's our main article. So I went through it, and I gotta be honest, nothing super concrete in terms of like commentary from quotes and editors and everything, so I'm not really gonna read the whole thing. I'm just gonna specifically state that, you know, at the time, I do remember the controversy around Manhunt. It's gore being on the news, which I'll play a clip right here if I can find one. But it was pretty controversial for its time. The violent scenes had to be like blurred out, so you weren't completely seeing something that. It's so ridiculous because, like, you'd be here with a crowbar and you'd stick a guy in the gullet with it, right? Oh no, that's violent. But you would see that in every other game that is out on the market, and still they had to like put the filter on and twist it and censor it because they were afraid of, you know, getting banned and slammed by parents and the media and all these, you know, church-going, God-fearing people thinking that video games is, you know, creating violence in young people, which not a single study has proven that. Even today, 20 years later, if anything, the studies have shown that video games help with depression in some cases. I mean, they probably do make people a little antisocial, but aside from that, I mean, man, Manhunt was a banger. It's one of my favorite games on the PS2. It was hard. This is near the end of the game, this screenshot. Super difficult near the end. You had to be on your toes the whole time. But they basically go over what the game's about, hiding in the shadows, how it's using the renderware engine, stuff like that. Places you can expect to go and kill people in, like a prison, a scrapyard. Just how dark the game's gonna be. I wish they would make another Manhunt, or remake the first one with today's graphics. God, it would be so good. Previews section, Need for Speed Underground. I played this on the GameCube. I believe it might have been Most Wanted, whatever one was on the GameCube. It was a Need for Speed, and the graphics were so shit that after 10, I didn't even finish a race. That's how bad it was. Maybe I can show a little clip gameplay right here. But this is a weird period for racing games because they're trying to be edgy and they're trying to show off these lighting effects and, you know, all the grills and the customization and the fine tuning of cars, and, you know, it was a big thing. I mean, there was a lot of Need for Speed games and clones that came out. I forget what the names of them are, but they came out and people were just like excited as hell for these games at the time. And they were big. It was a big market, and it's still kind of there. You can travel a lot more, obviously. These were very linear, racetracky games, or, you know, semi-open world. But you can do a lot more, obviously, today. And, you know, this is around the time, too, of when, you know, racing movies would come out. Fuck, what's the name of that movie? There's like 7 of them. Fast and the Furious. God damn it. I'm not a fan. Sorry. Cel-shaded games were a thing of the time as well. There was 13. There was Beautiful Joe. And Wind Waker is the biggest one, probably. Sphinx, this one actually got like a lot of good reviews, but I never played it, and I don't know anyone who did play it. You know, kind of cartoony warriors or heroes at the time. I think in this magazine issue too, there's Ratchet and Clank, and, you know, those series have somehow survived. Jack and Dexter. I don't know how. Mega Man X7. Never played it. Another one that's kind of like falling into that same aesthetic. Resident Evil Outbreak, like I said, another little, paragraph. Screenshots mostly, which leads you to believe you might be. Look, try not to get separated from your team, so you're boarded up. Exploring your environment is still a necessity. Good stuff. Natural disasters, kind of the truth. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Okay, so everyone who had a GameCube definitely had this game. I mean, most people had to have, because everyone I knew had it. And I recently replayed it on my Wii through the backwards compatibility. And I gotta be honest, it's still a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect game. It still is to this day. And I had a blast remembering all the puzzles and callbacks to, that era of gaming and just kind of what the ideas were for, traversing the landscape. And, it looks obvious and bland and simple now, but back in the day, this was the stuff, and in the sequels, they would try to capture more of what eventually became Assassin's Creed, because that's what inspired this to begin with. It's the progenitor. But, could this turn out to be the best game of the year? It definitely got really good scores. And Prince of Persia, man, it lives in my heart wholeheartedly. If you've never played this before, go back and do it. Do yourself a favor. True Crime, this is what all my other friends were playing. They like GTA games. I played a little bit of it. It was okay. Mafia, they recently recreated this. I beat it and played it. Great game. Couldn't beat it on the PS2 because of the wonky controls. Jesus. Soul Calibur 2, played that with my dad a lot. Great fighting game. People might not remember the DLC characters. Spawn was one of them for the PS2 version. Zelda for the GameCube version. And then, no, the Xbox version was Spawn, because that's the one we had. And then PS2, I can't remember. Can't remember who the extra character was. Like I said, cartoony characters. Still there somehow. Ratchet and Clank. Splashdown! Sucked into a vortex. This is a walkthrough of Silent Hill 3. And it's funny, like, reading this because they talk about, like, how bad the camera is and how it'll change angles suddenly, which is something survival horror does anyways. It's just some of the things they try to do to fill up this page is real goofiness, like how to lock onto this boss, the worm boss that looks like a giant phallus, basically. And it's like, you don't need a guide for this game. You really don't. Like, maybe you could do a puzzle walkthrough. That could be helpful, but an actual guide? Unwarranted. Same with, and this too, and giving away, how to do unlockables for bonus booty. I do like the art, though, and the screenshots are cool. Like, watch, here's an example. Mr. L. This odd mummy-ish fellow tends to swim in the murky water and jump up right beside you before launching into an attack. Your best bet is avoid this ancient aquatic aquanaut with some deft footwork and take him down from a distance. A few bursts from the submachine gun will lay him to rest. Alternatively, you can always rely on your katana. They just basically told you to run around and shoot. Tomb Raider, Angel of Darkness, walkthrough, Busty Lara. I don't know if you'd need one for that. I didn't play it. Fox Sports Games. Letter of the Month. This one's kind of interesting. I don't know about the rest of you, but I noticed what appears to me to be a disturbing trend in the modern day video game industry, at least for the PS2. Whenever I scan the PS2 section of my local Blockbuster, it seems to me that the new game that come out fall into the categories sports games, racing games, movie tie-ins, and fighting games. I have nothing against these genres, but to see the same thing over and over again, well, it's beginning to be tiring. No matter how flashy the graphics or big the development budget, there is an unlimited amount you can do with those genres. Do you have any idea why these genres have been taking prominence lately? And this is true. This is the era of movie tie-in games that would eventually die in the 360 PS3 era, for the most part. But oh man, you couldn't scan a game section of Blockbuster without running into Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Batman Begins, like the Batman tie-ins. Then you had Thor, Green Lantern, all the superheroes. I mean, there was so many like movie tie-in stuff back then. Like I said, the Need for Speed games taking prominence. Those were huge. Fighting games, I guess. There was the Mortal Kombat ones, Dark Alliance and Shaolin Monks, Soul Calibur. There's another one I'm forgetting that's like Soul Calibur. I can't remember. Masters of Terrascasi or whatever it is. No, I'm just kidding. And then people are bitching about the GTA games being boring and shallow. That we should play Sudokin 3 instead. But yeah, I didn't really see any two more out of that. Backyard Wrestling, terrible game. Next month, what you can find. Fire Warrior. Ad for Resident Evil Dead Aim. Check that out. Well, everyone's favorite Resident Evil. New and original Resident Evil on PlayStation 2. I did play and beat it. It was a game. And the Splinter Cell games were pretty huge for their time. I'd agree. But that's the Manhunt PlayStation Magazine issue 75. Like I said, everyone, I don't know what you guys want from me aside from doing comic books. Like it says at the top of my channel, comic books, horror, stuff like that. I'm a horror guy. I love my comic books. And I like doing big videos, once a month, basically, covering a subject that I find interesting or that nobody has really talked a lot about, which is the biggest thing, trying to stay away from what everyone else is doing and kind of be my own channel, my own thing, and try to look at things that people have done that I want to cover and add my own twist on it, like the Terminator versus RoboCop timeline one. I felt like people were leaving so much information out of it. Granted, I left out one thing as well, but that's what netted me so many subscribers is from that, having to try to do something different, try to stick out among the crowd. But, I just want everyone to leave a comment. If they want me to keep doing these, they honestly don't even seem popular on the channel anyways. But again, they're just filler for my big videos. So this is another retro magazine review, PlayStation magazine specifically. The magazine, in my opinion, was better in the 90s than it is in the 2000s. But thanks for everyone watching. Please subscribe, do all the things. You can follow me on Instagram, Cyberpunk Holiday, where I post stuff about my comic book and just generally what's going on in my life. And anyways, thanks everyone for watching. I love you all. Have a good day.